Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Hey there, everyone. This is Larry. I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude for the incredible support you've shown since Selling in a Post-Trust World book launched earlier in August. Thanks to you, Selling in a Post-Trust World is making waves and helping sales professionals everywhere build authentic relationships. If you haven't grabbed your copy yet, head over to barnesandnoble.com and order yours today. And here's a special thank you. When you leave a review of the book, we'll give you instant access to our exclusive Selling in a Post-Trust World private podcast. This 12-episode series dives deeper into each chapter, offering actionable insights to elevate your sales game. Don't miss out. Order your copy, leave a review, and unlock exclusive content designed to help you sell from the heart. For more details, go to sellinginapostrustworld.com. Thank you. Thank you for being part of this movement. Together, we're transforming the world of sales, one authentic relationship at a time.
Hello, and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Hey, Darrell, great seeing you. What isn't going on? This has been one fantastic summer. It has flown by. A lot's happened, Darrell, in the summer. A lot has happened. Isn't that so?
And here we are. It's been an amazing summer. We're headed into fall, and there's no better way to kick this off than our conversation today with Bethany Ayers. Get your notepad, iPad, napkin, whatever you want, something to write, because you're going to get a lot of ideas during this podcast. We're so excited about it. And yeah, here we are. It's on into the fall. It's so much fun now. We've been talking all summer about selling in a post-trust world. It's out, it's available, and it's so much fun seeing this book not only get in the hands of people, and shout out to everyone who's sharing it on social. We love seeing you with your Selling from the Heart. Selling in a Post-Trust World book.
Hey, you can say both. Hey, Darrell, go ahead and say both.
Get my copy. Here it is right over here. We love seeing this on social, but more than anything, we love seeing books that are torn up with highlighters and coffee spilled on them, and because people are taking this now and putting it to work to grow their sales by building trust. And so I'm so excited, Larry. I just get fired up about this, Selling in a Post-Trust World. It's great to see this being implemented.
You know, absolutely. And it's just been a joy with the teams and the businesses that we're working with to see Selling in a Post-Trust World actually come to life, but more importantly, being applied out into the business world. It's just been a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. So thank you. If you have not got your copy yet, go to sellinginapostrustworld.com and you'll get a link through not only to places like Barnes and Noble or Amazon where you can buy the book, but you'll also find about some special bonuses you can get after you buy the book. So sellinginapostrustworld.com. Well, we've got a great day today. We're so excited to welcome Bethany Ayers. She's a seasoned tech executive and expert in optimizing sales processes. As a chief customer officer at Peak and a former COO at several leading tech firms, Bethany has a rich history of developing effective go-to-market strategies that have significantly enhanced sales performance. She's been instrumental throughout her career in raising over $200 million from top-tier investors and has finely tuned sales processes to maximize customer engagement. She shares her knowledge regularly on the Operations Room podcast, focusing on the intricacies of sales operations in tech startups and scale-ups. We're so excited to have Beth here today to delve into the key components of successful sales processes and provide every one of us with some practical tips for refining your sales strategy to drive better results. Whether you're a sales leader or a sales professional, this is going to be powerful. Beth, welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast. It's great to have you here.
Great. Thanks, Darrell. I love the intro. You hear this all the time. Every podcast I've listened to is like, oh, thanks for that intro. It's awesome.
Well, hey, I want people to know what they're about to experience with this, because this is some real world, practical, proven wisdom that we're all going to be able to take from this conversation. But as we get started, Beth, you know the question that every guest on the Selling from the Heart podcast answers. That is, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
It means making it not about you, making it about the customer.
So you know what I like about that? Short, sweet, to the point. But we've always said this in Selling from the Heart, Beth, is when you shine the light on others, watch how fast they start to open up. But if we spin this around, unfortunately, a lot of people in the sales world, they shine the light on themselves. And when you shine the light on yourselves, you're never going to get someone to open up about their issues, their challenges, the vision, the initiatives they have, because the light's not shining on them.
Yeah. And this is also where I've learned about sales process and why sales process matters. If I just tell you a little bit about my story. So I haven't been a salesperson since 2002, 2003 is like the last time I was quota carrying. And then I moved into sales management, sales ops, sales, blah, 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 blah. And so I've been in as an exec sponsor and I've helped close deals, but I haven't been a quota carrier for a very long time. And then a year and a half ago, I left my job and I decided that I wanted to make money by being myself. And basically that's my goal.
I love it.
Just be awesome, be myself, be authentic, be charming, be charismatic, and people will come and buy stuff. And you know what happened?
I can only imagine.
Being myself is not enough.
It's important, but it takes more than being yourself. I love this. I love it.
I did. And so then Paul Caffrey, who's also been a guest on the
Paul's
show.
Paul's a great guy. He's been on our podcast too.
He is. That's how we got introduced.
Yeah, so we met,
Yeah. So Paul was originally my AE at Salesforce, and like kind of hunted me down until we became friends. But anyhow, Paul and I meet regularly, and Paul says, what you need to do to sell a course is this and this and this and this. And I go, no, that's sales. I don't want to do sales. I want it to be authentic. I just want it to be natural and organic. And you can guess what happened. Yeah, because, it's not just about from the heart, it's also selling. And so over the last 18 months, I've had to learn really hardly, and I have a really hard head. And despite the fact that I've spent my entire career making other people follow sales processes, I ignored it entirely and it didn't work. And so what I've realized is I was still making it about me. And there's a reason for a sales process. And that sales process is to embed making it about the other person.
Oh, I love this. I love this. We've been talking about selling in a post-trust world and the importance of trust. And our trust formula is 4 things. The authentic relationship, which is what we've been talking about. It's got to be authentic, meaningful value. We better be bringing some business value to the table. Let's create an inspirational experience. But that 4th component is what we're really drilling into here today. And that's disciplined habits, the disciplined habits of a sales professional. And there's a lot of components to that around planning your day and managing time and energy and all of that. But at the core of all of this is having the discipline to stick with a sales process. And for my fellow Canadian friends, a sales process. So this is such I just want to make sure we're communicating here clearly with everybody. But this is, why do you think that sales professionals, especially we'll say the authentic relational sales professionals, why is it that we struggle so much and like really even sit in the meetings where the sales process is being rolled out, and inside our minds we're going, I'm not going to do that. Why is it, not that I've ever done that before, but why is it that we as relational, authentic salespeople struggle so much with sales process?
Because I don't want to, it's like, who are you to tell me what to do? And it's a little bit boring. And it's repetitive, and it's not the fun bits. It's not making connection. But if you don't take the time to build out, not just understand the problem, but explain the problem, build out the pain, going back to basically spin, then it doesn't really matter how much of a connection you make with somebody. They might love you. They might want to go and hang out with the football with you, but they're not actually going to buy because you haven't really made it about them, about their pain, about their benefits. And that doesn't come without remembering to do those things.
You know what? This is what's interesting about sales process. I'm sitting there going back. I'm rewinding, Beth, in my head. I'm rewinding back about 20, 25 years ago. And I remember a sales manager a long time ago said, can you share with us, right? Maybe you document it. What do you do, right? You walk me through your process. And and the reason why I'm bringing this up is I want to give some credit to sales professionals that are out there. They may not be process oriented as far as maybe having something documented, but they do go through a process. But what we're talking about here is, can you have a documented process? Can you walk us through so that if you're not there and we have to insert somebody in because you're out of the office for a while, can they follow your process? Can you document it? And I think this is the key for a lot of sales professionals.
Or at least, I think a lot of sales professionals, but it's all around understanding what you're doing and making sure you're ticking the boxes. So even if you're doing it intuitively and you might be working well, when you have that deal that goes off the rails and you don't understand why, if you don't know what your own process is to yourself, then you don't know what went wrong on that one. Whereas, so I'm not looking at it so much from the company perspective and the CRM, and we need to have it perfectly documented and regimented. I'm more around figuring out what are those things that you do every time, and then noticing when you don't do it, or noticing the things that you don't like to do, but actually you really know you need to do. So, for example, for me, now that I'm selling my course and selling myself, what I realized I hadn't done was made the problem big enough, which is probably why I was mentioning spin. So it's like, it's not just about hanging out with me, which is awesome. It's like, how do you want to get your career? How do you want to present in front of boards and be really compelling? Why do you want to present in front of boards? How is that going to supercharge your career? What are the mistakes that you're making? And pulling all of that out. So creating a lot more demand before going straight for the solution. And I think a lot of salespeople, and you talk about this, is, talk about the speeds and feeds or the equivalent of the benefits. But if you don't understand what the problem is, the benefits just don't matter. And we don't take enough time to really delve into those problems, or we don't realize we haven't taken the time because we almost just think like, oh, everybody has the same problem. So it just going back to discovery, really, and really creating demand along with that connection.
I think that is such a powerful insight, especially for the selling from the heart audience, because I think there's so much intention and good intention and necessary intention on creating that connection and being seen as trustworthy and building trust, that we can tend to forget about the importance of also building desire, need, tension in all of that, and almost to the point where psychologically, I wonder if many of us have gotten to the point where we're hesitant to build that demand, to build that trust, that need, because we're so focused on the relational side of things. Is this making sense? Like, I think, what is that hesitancy inside us? Is it maybe we just need to get on the psychologist couch here for a moment and think about this. But are y'all tracking with what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's I think a hesitancy in some reps to at the beginning of the sale to really do that deep dive and to really understand. And so I don't know if there's a question here, Beth, but I'm curious about this hesitancy. Is it a thing? And if so, What would you coach us to do about that?
So I think it's a real thing, or at least it's something I'm experiencing myself. And there's a few areas, and this comes back to what my definition of selling from the heart is. It's not about you. Is if you don't understand their demand, if you don't understand their need, if you don't understand why they should be working with you, then how are they going to understand it? And that's where you need to make it about them. And the other thing that you need to make about them is chasing and injecting the urgency, because everybody's really busy and you don't have all the attention in the world. And so actually part of your job is to make sure that, first of all, you understand what it is that helps them, and then to chase them and to inject the urgency and to not have it fall off the agenda. And that's different than doing it when you've not made the connection and you've not understood the value. But on the other side, like, I've bought a huge amount of technology, and I actually really appreciate it when people chase me, because it has fallen off, but it doesn't mean that I don't care. And so that's the other part of the process is we're afraid that they're going to not like us because we're chasing them. We're afraid they might not buy because they don't like us. We're afraid that we're not going to make, and then we're afraid that we're not going to make the sale, and that's going to impact us. But none of that. And even if we're, looking for making connection, what we're not thinking about is, what is it really like to be the customer? And the sales process makes us think about what it is to be the customer and not to take things personally. The 7 times when they don't answer the phone call isn't because they're ghosting you. It's because they're always in a meeting. And so that 8th time you call matters.
Oh, so
this is what we're talking about. It's interesting because, hey, salespeople, you're not the only game in town, right? You're competing for other people's time. Other things come up. But what's really interesting about this is when you started using the word chase, I equate that to urgency. Is a lot of salespeople struggle, especially upfront, to have that very pointed, assertive, direct business conversation that really unpacks what's really going on, and then wrap around urgency around this. And when we don't wrap around urgency around this, that's where I think things fall off the radar screen.
We're just busy.
Yeah.
Well, and I like this. I love this concept of focusing the sales process around the buyer or the buyers in the case of buying teams, which is so prevalent these days in so many different scenarios. But I want to go back to this chasing thing and just have everybody that's listening in think through the perspective of, especially those selling in B2B, right? There are so many competing priorities right now. And, we just finished, even inside Selling from the Heart, we just finished our quarterly planning meeting. And so we have, we worked really, really hard to whittle down a long list of things to things that we're going to get done in the next 90 days. And, and there were a lot of things that are important that need to get done that got kicked to next quarter. So if somebody is, selling to us, and we work with a lot of different companies and vendors, and that thing got kicked to next quarter, it doesn't mean that we don't care about that now. The timeline shifted. And so for a sales professional to continue to follow up and to continue to chase, I love that, around a fundamental understanding that business has a lot of competing priorities. I watch salespeople give up. It happens all the time. And then and there have been times, Beth, where literally we're working on a project. It got moved 6 months. 6 months later, I'm scouring my email, trying to remember. I know I talked to somebody about this. Seriously, this happens all the time. I don't even remember the person's name. I just have this vague memory of a concept. And I just think, well, what if that person had followed a process and been diligent and helpful in the follow-up and stayed on my radar? I don't think I would have minded that as a decision maker in some of these longer sales cycles.
Yeah. Again, as a decision maker, I don't mind it either. The constant phone calls I mind, and mostly just because I can't answer them because I'm in meetings.
Yeah.
But I love nurture campaigns. So you stick somebody on a nurture for that next 6 months, they're getting good quality content. They're not just getting, hi,
Right.
remember me,
Yeah.
hi. That's not a good chase. And then you have that brand awareness.
Well, and that's a process, right? Is thinking about, okay, well, what would be helpful? What's going on? How could I actually nurture that? Hey, here's what other folks have been thinking about during this time period. Here's some new ideas. And we're keeping this thing top of mind. So when 6 months rolls around, I actually remember, oh, that was Beth,
Yeah.
and I actually get an email that I could reply to and go, hey, we're ready to engage. And this is beautiful because this aligns with selling from the heart in terms of meaningful value. Hey, we're going to keep adding value in this conversation that's going on over a period of time. And we're going to be disciplined in the execution of that. And so I want to shift just a minute to talking to the sales leaders and executives that are listening in. What would you say to sales leaders and executives who, where should they begin? I mean, everyone may have an old process. They haven't dusted. It's got dust on it. They haven't looked at it and coached to it. Let's build here this sense of importance that we talked about in the discovery phase. Let's build the impact of not having a documented sales process that's coached to versus the benefits of having a documented sales process that's continually improved and coached to.
Oof, you're making me do the hard work now.
Hey, welcome to the podcast, Beth.
You're on the hot seat. But seriously, though, like what are the benefits of a company that are really rolling up there? This is work. This is investment. This is, but what are the benefits of thinking through this and making sure you're coaching to it, holding people accountable?
Well, it's putting the customer at the center. And we all talk about being customer centric, but we actually need to do things to be customer centric. And part of that is understanding a customer's business. I mean, how many times have we been on a demo way too early about nothing that matters?
It's show and tell versus understanding.
But also, how can your very first discovery meeting, and I see this a lot in like the lower end, like lower priced, where obviously it's very high volume, fill in a form, somebody shows up and they ask you 2 stupid questions and then they go straight into a demo.
Yeah. It's
pointless. So if anybody's doing that, stop. You should have a demo. You should have 2 demos. You should have a demo on the website that people can go to and not have to talk to anybody and see a bit about your product and understand it and like, okay, broadly, I now want to go and learn more. Then you should have a real discovery conversation and a demo that is not, and it's a green button and it's a purple button. And then you can do this and let me show you those things. But okay, so what you really are struggling with, I'm just going to use myself as an example of buying sales tools, is that you can't get a decent waterfall chart to understand pipeline over this period. In that period, I really understand what you're saying. We have a lot of customers who have the same problem. So what we've done is created this. So now you're going to start your day and you're going to log in, and isn't it going to be amazing to have this amazing chart? Versus, so in order to create a chart, what we want to do is have the drop down, and then you push this button, and then you can choose this time date or that time period, or this sales team or that sales team. Like, I don't care. And I miss the point. And so it's around, what does your customer care about? And how do you make sure everybody finds out what your customer cares about?
What's so funny about that is, went through a software demo earlier this week, and it was that type of scenario. It was a great software package. What ended up happening, so it was kind of trying to muddy through, and I'm thinking, how can we use this? How can we use this? And then, so I get up yesterday morning after sleeping on this overnight, and I pull my iPad out and I sketch out how we can use this inside our business. But what's sad about that is, and I'll probably re-engage with the software company because I think there's actually a use case for this that could be really helpful. What's sad about that is it would have been so much better had that person been collaborating with us on that. I did all that by myself. And so now this would have been such a more rich experience had it been, okay, well, here's an overview of this whole thing. Let's have a conversation about your needs and let's collaborate. And this is where, and you just go, it's not customer friendly. Now, fortunately, as a buyer, I was able to look at that and process it and come up with, I think what's going to be a really great solution. But oh my goodness, wouldn't it have been better had that happened in conjunction with the salesperson? And so, and quite frankly, there's a risk that I'm going to take that and go, okay, well, what other solutions could there be to that problem? And boom, I'm gone. I'm off to the races. And so this is, this concept of process is really, really an important thing for everybody to do. So I want to aim at sales managers and executives just a little bit more. How do you get started? So if you go, it's been a long time since we thought about sales process, or, well, it's Wild West around here. How do you get started in terms of rationalizing and thinking through this buyer-centric sales process?
So there's two things I want to say. Just one, to make it, I'm just thinking about it as a sales leader, there's two things you end up thinking about is making it all the same for everybody and having people adhere to it. And then you care about your metrics, which again is making it about you.
Sure.
And so it's not about the metrics. It's not about compliance for compliance sake because it makes your life easier. It's about figuring out the best sales process for customers that makes it smooth and you remove the friction. That's what the intent is, rather than how do we have the most easily trackable numbers, which makes our lives easier, but it's again about us. Mm-hmm. So one of the things you can do is, if you have one of these high volume ones, is secret shop yourself. And then you'll go, oh, I did not realize this is what was happening. So, and you can just understand how you feel in this process, not understood, not cared about, not given an opportunity to ask enough questions, and stop doing that. So if you can secret shop yourself, do that. The other one is talk to your customers. So one of the things that we used to do is win-loss reports or reviews, and we hired an external agency to do that for us so that people would speak openly. And that was, the losses are interesting, but the wins are oftentimes more valuable because that's where you'll get either the things that they loved that you can add into your marketing messaging, or we bought despite this. So like Darrell, your example, if you were doing a win-loss review, you would say, yes, it was amazing, but I did my own selling. And so you ask questions around, why did you buy? What helped you? What do you wish you had? What was your internal buying process? What information wasn't readily available? Did you believe the business case? And from that information, you can rebuild your sales process. Because you remember, it's about, do the customers have a big enough need? And then removing fear. Fear that it's not going to work, fear that they're going to get fired. Well, basically, those are the fears. Fears they're going to have a big problem on their hands. And so how do you get rid of that after they have enough need? And those are the emotions that you should be working on and helping through.
Hey, Darrell, you know what I'm sitting there thinking of? Beth, I'm thinking of a book by a near and dear friend of ours, Kevin Davis. And this book came out decades ago. It's called Slow Down, Sell Faster. And I'm sitting there thinking, gosh, if you actually stuck to a process.
Imagine.
Yeah, but no, mentally, you're going to slow it down, but you're actually going to speed it up because you're not going to miss anything along the way. It's just what happens is too many in the beginning speed things up. And on the backside of this, it starts to slow down.
And you're paying for it.
Yeah.
Big time. What a great conversation, Beth. I know one of the things everyone listening in is asking themselves right now is, how can I get more Beth Ayers in my life?
Yes. So the easiest is to go onto LinkedIn, Bethany Ayers. I think I'm the original because I'm old enough to not be Bethany Ayers 23 or whatever.
That's great. This is now a sign of age that we actually got our names on LinkedIn and not some long string of characters. So that's
same
good.
with Gmail.
Link in the show notes.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. Any other ways? Obviously, people want to take a listen to the Operations Room podcast and get a deep dive into this, right?
Absolutely. And then I also offer a free hour-long session once a month for the first 50 people who register. That is it was originally aimed at first-time female execs and aspiring execs, but my last 2 episodes have had about a third men. So I just have to relabel it new execs and aspiring execs.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Beth, what an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for the value you're adding in the sales world. It's an honor to share time with you, and we really appreciate you investing in us today.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate it.
That's our pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Larry, so much powerful stuff inside that conversation right there. This is one I told you at the beginning of the podcast to get your notepad, iPad, or chalkboard, whatever you've got, and start thinking about this. And Beth gave us some really good guidelines to be thinking about the importance of not only having a process, but following it, coaching to it, continually updating it, and doing it all through the mindset of the buyer, our ideal client. And this sounds there's one level of this that sounds very mechanical, but look, if you want to sell from the heart, you've got to be able to deliver throughout the sales process and guide people in an effective way. And that requires a process, and it requires continual improvement.
Exactly. I sit there because I'm a sports geek. I'll make the sports analogy. Look at any professional sports team out there. Not only do they follow a playbook, they follow a process.
They do.
A very successful professional sports team follows a process. Imagine all your salespeople on your sales team all rowing in the right direction, following the right process, consistency and discipline.
Yeah. And it was interesting, for those listening in who are executives, and I was in my CEO peer group yesterday, and we were talking about one of the questions is who should be involved in creating this sales architecture and the sales process. And you know what? If you're responsible for profit in the company and valuation, you care about revenue, you need to get involved in this. Like, this is a high level strategic priority for your organization. So want to challenge everybody to take what Beth has said and let's make this a priority. And if we're executives, let's prioritize developing, enhancing, and coaching towards these processes. And if we're producers, okay, let's just swallow hard and go, you know what? For the next 90 days, I'm going to follow the process. I'm going to slow down to sell faster. And I think good things will happen. Speaking of good things happening, there's a lot of great things happening here at the Selling from the Heart podcast. You're going to be so excited about the list of guests we have coming throughout the fall. So will you do us a favor? Make sure to subscribe. And will you share this maybe on LinkedIn? Share one of these episodes. We have lots of outtakes. Why? Because it helps us expand the movement of authenticity and trust right here in the sales profession. So if you'd be kind enough to share one of these episodes on a social channel this week, we sure would appreciate it. Larry, it's exciting. We're selling in a post-trust world. We're doing it with process. We got great things going on. What a good time here today.
No, it is. If I look back on our journey together, Selling from the Heart created this movement. Selling in a post-trust world takes it to the next level. So we appreciate everyone out in the community for waving both flags.
That's right. So till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, follow the sales process, and most of all,
Sell from the heart.